actually
There's got to touch that on camera.
and track how news is distributed. We are a distribution company. So when you distribute news, you get analytics. And that tells you who opened news, who cares about news. And I take that information and I layer it with recent technology changes, human behavior changes, and social changes. And that is how we came up with this deck. So I'm going to step to the side. I think I'm still in the camera, either way. And let's get started. So this slide, that's perfect. What I've done is I have two slides here. The one that was right there and then this one. And what these slides do is they actually set the stage of why PR and communications is so important today. Everybody here probably works for a company with a huge marketing budget and a teeny tiny little PR budget. That has got to change. Well, except for us who have little budgets all the way around. PR people need bigger budgets. And the reason for that is, and you'll see from these slides that Nielsen provided, that the number one thing that travels on social today is news. In fact, a recent study came out that said the number one thing people can do on mobile phones, remember how it used to be social? It's now news consumption. So now we have information being the number one thing these devices are doing. But it's not just the sharing of news. If a company writes about Business Wire, that's their way of saying, we trust Business Wire. So that adds to their trust. But when that is shared out by a third person, not me, because I work for Business Wire, but you, the readers on your Facebook wall, trust that news. So news has a 63% trust rating. But when it's shared by a third party, the trust rating goes to 83%. It's a huge amount of trust, and one of the reasons why editorial coverage is so important for PR programming. It's important because it's generating information, creating content, high trust content, that can then be shared out on social. Next slide. We're going to just quickly look, actually you can skip this, I'll talk through it. We're going to talk, the first thing we're going to look at is the change in consumers. Well, the first thing, everyone meet Jeremy. No, we're going to do, consumers have changed. The nice thing about this slide is, from what I can see, is that this slide is pretty much every single person in this room. If you're under the age of 36, around the age of 36, you're the first generation that had computers in your house. I did not. I had encyclopedias from 1979. You would not believe the sheer amount of things I thought were true growing up. I thought they were all true. I thought there were snakes under my bed. I thought that their vampires were real. I mean, I really believed all of these things. Why? Because I had no way to tell if they were fake. Today's consumers, especially those who are raised with computers in their house, are not like me. Now, don't get me wrong, I caught up to speed fast. Today's consumers are experts in Google search. Nobody in this room, hopefully, truly believes they're vampires, because you can Google search that. So I didn't do that. So anyway, you now have these people who are experts in Google search. Nobody in this room actually will probably agree to go to lunch with me without looking up the restaurant and checking it out for yourself, right? So we have these experts in Google search because mobile devices have put search in our hands. The other thing we have is, because of this expertise in Google search, we have an elongated sales cycle. For your clients and your companies and your businesses, before these phones were around, it was 7 touches to make a sale. Thank you phones, 22 touches. That means somebody has to see your brand, your company, your promise 22 times before they buy. Today's consumers, because of this expertise, they also rely on, they do their own research, they rely on their own research results, and they trust consumers, their recommendations from friends. This is where search and social become really important in the decision cycle, because they like to share. They want to be smarter, they're consuming more information than ever, and they're sharing it out. But the other thing these phones did, they made us visually fluent. That's huge. That's a term you need to take back. Public relations is traditionally text-based communications. That has to change. Next slide. Because 63% of the world are kinesthetic learners. That means that they learn through visual interaction. I do not. I love words. Again, you'll get a copy of this deck after. which you'll get to see all these other things, all these other stats. These are all linkable to the stats. What we have is we have 63% of the world prefer to learn through visuals, but we keep speaking in text. Every time you put out a text-only news release or a text-only status update, what have you done? You just flipped off 63% of the world. If you want to engage consumers, you have to speak in their language. And their language is increasingly becoming visual. Emojis, Snapchat, one of the biggest reasons why those types of communications work so well, they require no knowledge of the English language. I could show you my sad little face on Snapchat, and you don't even care what language you speak. It requires nothing from you. It immediately, you look at the visual, you know what I'm saying. We have to start doing that in PR. We have to start speaking and telling our story both in text, because that'll never go away, but also we have to think about it in visuals as well. So what's the role of search and social in news? So this is my favorite part of the presentation. It's what I call the coolest part. First slide. So one of the things that we know about social is that visual fluency is huge on social. Thank God. Thank God I have all these stats now that I can bring to my boss or my clients and say, stop thinking about text only. When's the last time you had a massive success with a text-only status update? What was the first rule we learned with status updates in social? Gotta have an image, gotta have a graphic. You gotta start speaking that same way in PR. So next slide.
Well, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Okay, so ironies, my press release without a graphic got twice the traffic on Business Wire than the one with the graphic.
Then that would probably tie directly to your headline. It was probably the content in your information that was the differential.
I'm just a damn good writer.
Yeah, well, I've seen your work. See how I didn't even blink? I know exactly what you're
doing. No, actually,
you're just too good of a writer.
I explained this to my boss, was like, them not calling us for interviews and just taking the press release is actually a good thing.
Yeah.
But they didn't get, there was a disconnect there. But the other thing was, I forgot the other part. Okay.
There'll be more. I have a lot on that topic too. I got more for you. So here's some great stuff that's happening right now when it comes to news and with the search and social platforms. The very first thing is Google loves editorial coverage. Google loves press releases. So every time you get editorial coverage, Jeremy, every time you secure a piece of business, not only should you count that piece of coverage as a win, you need to tell your leaders, your management, that that coverage had SEO. That coverage was at the top of search. News releases do not have traditional SEO, but they have searchability. Every time you issue a news release on a wire, it will be at the top of search for a couple of days. The reason for that is Google is an all-white landing page. The reason for that is they do not want anybody to stay on google.com. The faster you find what you're looking for, the more likely you will to come back and use Google again. Very different than Yahoo and Bing, right? They have fully loaded landing pages. They don't care about the search feature. Google is all about search. So what Google has done is they have recognized what users are looking for in search. When they search for a business name or a philosophy, they're usually looking for the business website, maybe a couple of key pages within the site, the social channels, and the news. So Google is now going to put your news and any coverage you secure at the top of search. Then when you click over to Google News, your coverage is going to be there, so will your press release. Some people wonder why. The reality is that when it comes to editorial coverage, everybody's headline is different. What Google has realized is that people have a very high interest in what they call the source news. So isn't it funny, you send out a piece from your company and everybody's like, well, of course you're saying you did well, it's your company information. Or they'll look at it here and say, thank goodness we have the news release here to give us the source information. So when it comes to Google and news releases, people don't look at them as propaganda documents from the company. They look at it as it's called source news, which is great. So right now you have Google surfacing information about you and your company all the time. You can secure a great blog post on a third-party site, position an op-ed, submit an op-ed, and every time you do this, you're putting info at the top of search. Next slide. Social. We all know that social is a terrific way to distribute and get information amplified. But there are tricks for every single platform for getting your information shared. So this is my favorite one, LinkedIn. The reason I like LinkedIn so much, LinkedIn has 2 free things. You don't have to do any, well, you have to do a little bit of work. But it has 2 ways that LinkedIn is going to get your information out, in and out through LinkedIn. First off, LinkedIn users, their aspiration for the channel is professional competition. I'm not kidding. I get an alert that says Jeremy updated his profile. I'm right there. I am on that profile. There's no freaking way he's going to be better than me. By the way, we're friends if you're wondering why the aggression all of a sudden. So here's one of the things that it does. And you may have already noticed this. You may have actually received this. If you're the editorial contact on a news release, or the quoted source in a news release, or the quoted source in an article, LinkedIn on its own, without any help from anybody else, is currently right now scraping the web for these pieces, and they're showing them to you. How many of you guys have ever gotten an email from LinkedIn that says you're in the news? If you're the contact or quoted source on a release, you're going to get that. So now here's LinkedIn telling you congratulations. Serena, you made the news, awesome. But LinkedIn does something even better than that. This is the competition. LinkedIn sent this note to everybody I'm connected to on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn took my news, my company information, my press release that I wrote, and has now emailed it to every one of my contacts, my connections, for free. I didn't do anything. This is great. It's a terrific way to optimize the network. But here's the thing. A lot of our clients will do news releases, and they'll quote the CEO. And the CEO has no LinkedIn presence at all. Consider adding in a second quote from perhaps your head of sales or somebody in your organization that does have a really robust LinkedIn profile. LinkedIn is giving this, they're pushing information out to you and everyone you're connected with. So you might as well leverage that. However, I have noticed that this does not work if you have a middle initial in your name. Take those middle initials out. I don't know why, but so that's free. LinkedIn's doing that right now. Right now, I guarantee about half of us in the room have an email from LinkedIn that says, your friend XYZ made the news. Because they're doing this all day long. But that's not all. The other thing LinkedIn is doing is this. Your network is talking about. This is even more interesting. Find 5 or 6 people in your company or friends and connect on LinkedIn and ask them to share the same piece of news in LinkedIn around the same time. LinkedIn thinks it's breaking news. When they see people connected on LinkedIn sharing the exact same content in about 5-minute time period, they think that it's breaking news. So they create this. So now, Business Wire will trigger this. Jeremy and I he'll log into LinkedIn, and because we're friends on LinkedIn, he will see my news on his wall. And it looks big and fancy. My network is talking about it. These are all self-triggered by users on LinkedIn. And you can do this. Doesn't have to be a news release, could be any piece of content, could be a hiring notice. But you can trigger this yourself just by having people connected to you log in. If you do sales or work in a sales organization, what I do is every time we get a piece of content placed or whatever, I'll write a series of updates, status updates. Here's some tweets, here's some LinkedIn, here's some Facebook status updates, and I'll put it in Business Wire's intranet. About 20 people of my entire company will actually share it out. But those 20 people, they're usually salespeople, always come back to me and thank me. Because they've shared it out, it's triggered this, and their prospects on LinkedIn see it. Their clients on LinkedIn see it. They start getting comments from those people, and then the sales team comes back to me and thanks me. You just promoted my content for free? I'll take that. Go right ahead. LinkedIn also has its own blog, which does have SEO. However, for those of you who have used it or haven't used it, I'm not seeing the view count like I used to. My first one had 10,000 views. My last one had 137 views. So it used to be amazing, and I used to have this at the top of my to-do list. Feeling a little less excited about it now. But FYI that it's there. Next slide. All right, guys, this jacket's coming off. It's kind of warm in this room, right?
You're just hot.
You're dancing. Dancing. Yeah. So today, well, which is perfect for for Twitter, because the aspiration on Twitter is to be the smartest, the first, or the funniest, right? What do people laugh when, what are the tweets that get the retweets? The ones that surprise you, the ones that shock you, or the ones that have data that's so good for your industry, you have to be the one to share it. So, the other thing that's happened on Twitter, recent update, you now can add multimedia, you can now start a tweet with an @ sign, and none of that impacts the visibility or takes up any more character count. So you just got 22 characters back, and soon, the new soon-to-be update is, when you do replies on Twitter, the handle of who you're tweeting to is going to disappear, and you're going to have those characters as well. So that's coming down. So they're going to start giving you more and more opportunity for text. And then what you can do is always add an image. So what we do is we tend to create imagery that's a mix of visuals and text. We use this to sort of explain visually what the text we have up there is. GIF files, by the way, extremely well. Add an ironic GIF file, people will go bananas. You'll see your tweets really skyrocket. Now, what kind of content type? We already talked about smart, funny. We talked about multimedia. Stats do very, very well. What we find at Business Wire, and it always makes me laugh, is that when a company secures coverage, by the way, I'll just tell you right now, not a lot of people write about Business Wire. So I do op-eds. If you can't get people to cover your story, op-eds. I've placed 600 op-eds in 3 years. 600 in 5 publications. You can do this yourself. If you want to be the expert of your industry, op-eds. But every op-ed I take, or every piece of coverage I get, I share it on social a minimum of 15 times. Because people on social's not, it's real time, and if someone's not looking at my feed at that moment, they won't see tweet number 1, they might see tweet number 5. I have no shame in my sharing game. In fact, shame in the sharing game is what the downside of a lot of companies. You wouldn't believe how many Fortune 10 companies I've been to that won't tweet out their coverage because they're embarrassed. That's ridiculous. Nobody follows your Twitter account or your Facebook page or any of your socials without wanting to know your company information. So leverage it. No shame in your share game. Don't forget that you can include images. You can actually do up to 4 images. You can do story arcs. Let's say you're launching a new webinar. I could have done 4 photos showcasing prep for the webinar. This one actually works a little bit better. My favorite trick, Twitter lists. There's a guy in Los Angeles named Scott Perry, and he writes the LA Tech Digest. And he has, hands down, the best Twitter lists I've ever seen. What he did is, rather than follow every single reporter, every startup in Los Angeles, he created lists for each one. Then he can go into each list every day, see what the hot news is, and he can tweet from that list. And he never had to have more followers. That's all fine, but here's the trick. Name the list something amazing. Because everybody gets noted, they get a heads up when they're added to a list. So I get added to a list, PR people. I mean, a list. Or I get added to a list, best presenters I've ever heard. Which one is my compliment? Best presenters I've ever heard. What do? I gotta find out who called me that. I click over and I more than likely will follow the person. So if you want to build a relationship on Twitter where people are following you back, Twitter lists. Name them something great. It will change everything. Next slide. Facebook. We all know it's pay for play. But Facebook has audience optimization. If you do not see this on your page, you have to go under your settings and you have to click the box to add it. It used to be on everybody's page and they took it out. Go add this in. It looks like when you're looking at a gun, it's the periscope button or the crosshairs button. Always depends on what part of the country I'm talking to. The people in New York are like, what do you mean? And all the people in Minnesota are like, we got that. Yeah, we got it. What it's going to bring up is this. It's going to allow you to target within your own fan page your updates. We already know that Facebook's pay for it. We already know that they only showcase your content to a portion of your account. And I'll talk about why, that's what this is next. But what you can do is you can literally take your launch. And let's say we're talking about your launch, and I say, who's your audience? And you say, everybody, and I cry, and I say, that's not an audience. And I say, and you're like, my audience, okay. For men will buy it for this reason, women will buy it for this reason, young people will buy it for this reason, old people will buy it for this reason. We can say old, I can say old now. Well, then what I can do is we write a status update for each market. Facebook allows you to do status updates by demographic. So if you're Amazon Kindle, who by the way did this, if you're Amazon Kindle, the Kindle Reader launches, well, I could do a status update that my Kindle Reader is launched. Everybody understands books, right? It's a pretty every person product. But instead, they did 14 different updates. If you were a senior, the update you saw was the Kindle Fire launches with a Mayday button, a help button. If you were a techie, a man techie, I'm getting started on that. The update you saw was it has battery life. If you were a female, the update you saw was that it was lightweight and easy to use. What they did is they took their one product, just like you would pitching different recorders, or just like, and they wrote a specific update targeted just for that audience, scheduled them out, totally free, and the day they launched, these launched. And because all of these targeting options are based on your IP and your own settings, even if I went to Amazon Kindle's page, I would have never seen the senior update. Okay, I probably would have seen the senior update. I never would have seen the male update, right? Now, what if you're a company and you have people in Louisiana? Louisiana just had a massive flood. You could have done a status update just for Louisiana, letting people know how you felt about them. Hey, we're here for you. Here's an emergency phone number if you need any assistance. You can localize your updates. Totally free. Just click on that Periscope button, crosshair button. I love it.
Serena?
Yes.
Really, I know you have questions later, but
Yeah.
while you're talking about it, can you boost the individual demographic updates?
Once they go live, like you would boost a status update,
Right.
then you can boost
So you
it.
do it as many times
Yes.
across the board?
But this one, or you can just create an ad on its own
Yeah.
for that network. But yeah, so what's also very interesting is this pay for play. Some of our clients are seeing our updates. So how do we know which ones? How can you tell which client, like what is making this update go to you versus that update? There's a formula. This is actually a TechCrunch article that specifically showcases newsfeed visibility. And if you want your update to be as visible as possible, there are two things you need to do. One is you must keep in mind that the words in your update, Facebook chooses what to showcase based on how many other people of your fans are using those same words. So 2 days ago, what would have been the right word to have in your status update? The Cubs. The Cubs. Yesterday, what would have been a great thing to have in your status update? The Cubs. Because as you notice on your own Facebook pages, like you log in and there's 3 Cub posts in a row, and then they disappear, that's Facebook. They ever notice how you log in, and for me, they do it with images too. Like one person's like, I have a mole, or I have a thing right here, and then the next smile's like teeth. You're like, I don't need to see all this teeth this early in the morning. Facebook is showcasing your Facebook, and I have a link at the end of this deck, actually has its own Facebook Trends page, just like Google Trends, where you can go in and see the top words of the day. Use those words in your status update. Now don't just put them in there like, here's my new mop, Cubs. What do you want? Actually, you can name your mop Cubby, and I think that would work. So we now know that the words you're using in your status update is going to impact the visibility. So will your content type. This is huge. So what you need to do is you need to go into your last maybe 20 Facebook updates. And just in an Excel file or piece of paper, write down the type of update. Like this update was because of, this update is a link. This update's a photo with text. This update's a video. So write out the type and then write next to it the number of views. You know, Facebook always shows you the views. And you're actually gonna see a pattern. And it's gonna tell you what the most common type of content type your audience consumes. I do not consume video. Don't get me wrong, Facebook's sneaking it in there. I've seen a couple of that elephant sitting in people's laps. I had to share it. It was very cute. But for the most part, I don't watch video. So if your brand does brand video, I'll never see it. Facebook will not show it to me. My sister, same grade as me, 100% kinesthetic. Her entire Facebook wall is video. So if we're both fans of your page, you do a video, she'll see it. I won't, because it's not my type. You have to look through your stats, your own visibility stats, and see what your type is for your fan page. Keep in mind, Facebook is 100% putting emphasis on video. Facebook has a very big global strategy. They worked on their in-app stability, so in third world countries, you don't have enough Wi-Fi to get to google.com, but once you get into the Facebook app, even with the slightest amount of Wi-Fi, the app works perfectly. That's their product. That's why video does so well. They're trying to become the international version of YouTube. So the more video you put in there, it's because it's in other countries, it's for stability. So video still does really big, but you need to test your type. Now, what other things do I have? There's so much more. Facebook Live. So I met with Facebook a couple of weeks ago and we were talking about Facebook Live, and I said, what's the best kind of video someone could do for Facebook Live? And they said, oh, the #1 video type that goes off in Facebook, that's easy. And I said, well, what is it? Weather. Well, that doesn't help us at all, right? But who knew? Weather is the #1 most activated piece of content that you can create. Pretty interesting, right? So by the way, if you're headquartered in a city with a storm, put up a weather photo, you know Facebook will share it. Facebook said that the best performing Facebook Lives average over 10 minutes in length. It's huge, right? They said the best ones include surprise materials at key points, so every the first 90 seconds, have some surprise material, and keep generating surprise material. And this could be somebody new popping into the screen, this could be you showcasing something, and they're going to be coming out with comment pinning. What's interesting about Facebook Live is it reaches your entire fan page. It's the only Facebook product that Facebook currently is allowing 100% visibility to your Facebook wall, your page. So if you have 1,000 fans, all 1,000 get the notice that you're live. You know that notice you type in right before you go live? They see that. So make sure whatever you're typing in there, really good. Then, when it goes live, so here's what an alert your whole page. Try this. The next time you have a big piece of news, I don't care if you have a news release, whatever your next big announcement is, Facebook Live it. Sit at your desk. By the way, Facebook Live should be this far away. All live streaming products were built to be no more than this far away. That's why they look crazy far away when they're far. They're meant to be taken like this. And just do a quick Facebook Live and say, hey, Business Wire is so excited to announce our big news. Click the link here. Here's a quick description of it. You probably shouldn't want to shake it up and down like this. But do a Facebook Live. Because what Facebook's going to do is they're going to alert your whole page. And then you can go back and edit the comment, and put a link in there, add some imagery. But once it goes up, if you want to get your whole fan page on something, do Facebook Live. It's live. By the way, I have 100 slides, and I think we're on 7, so we may not get to finish. Instagram. Okay, we all know about Instagram. The aspiration for Instagram is fame. How do we know this? Because what is the metric for success? The number of likes you get. It's fame. So what you want to do is you want to utilize the imagery to showcase your story, and yes, they have Instagram stories which you can use, and yes, they have these variety of formats. But the reality is because likes and fame is so important, consider creating a program that either rewards your employees or rewards your customers. So I had a photo that I took at the San Francisco Hyatt. And I tagged the San Francisco Hyatt when I did the photo, right? 6 months later, I got a note on Instagram that says, we love your photo, we'd like to feature it. Please reply back with this hashtag if that's okay. And I did. And now what happened? They featured my photo. It got 2,000 likes. I only had 7 before. Now I'm thinking, what's happened to me? I told you that story. I just advocated on behalf of the Hyatt because they shared my photo. Sharing of photos is great. So what some people have done, IBM, GE, they've created programs like View from My Desk, where they've actually asked for a product in the wild, right? Like Hyatt Life. And what they've done is that they've asked their employees and they've asked their customers to use this tag. And then every day they're able to go in and repost somebody's tag. So what does it do? 1, gives the person fame. If you're doing this for your employees, it's deepening your relationship with the employee. You don't have to give them a raise, you didn't have to give them a bonus, you didn't even have to send them an email. You just shared a photo out. What do they feel like? More aligned with their business? They're more likely to share more photos showcasing them at work. What does that do? It builds your brand. So one of the best things you can do with Instagram is actually feature other people's content. Also, you want to make sure that you sign up for the business page, you can drive traffic through the URL, and then keep in mind, shoppable pins are coming down. Eventually, you're going to be able to put 5 hyperlinks on your photo. And what I will be able to do is click through and buy that piece of toast. Because that toast looks good. Okay, not that good. Next slide. SlideShare. So SlideShare is amazing for PowerPoints. People forget about SlideShare because it's a little bit old-fashioned now. If you're a small business where you're selling to small businesses, what's the number one thing a small business owner wants to do? They want to be smarter. Best practices for small businesses do very, very well here. How-tos do very, very well here. The other thing that we're seeing is that LinkedIn, which owns SlideShare, will actually create landing pages. They have a landing page called LinkedIn Editorial Calendars. And a deck I wrote years ago on editorial calendars is now being featured on that page. I didn't do anything. They literally just pulled it in from the name, but so now I have LinkedIn promoting my work for me. However, the whole reason I have this slide in here is actually a warning. At South by Southwest, the #1 topic, I went to multiple sessions, they all said the same thing. Hackers are using SlideShare. When it comes to companies or marketing, especially small businesses, especially consultants, there's a tendency to want to brag about the technologies you use to build your product. Do not do this. Now, I don't think anybody in this room has done this, but if any of you are going to take a job with a company or pitching a new client, you should look and see if they've done it, so you can be the one to tell them, take it down. I was presenting at a Fortune 10 company. I presented this slide thinking it was a throwaway slide. Generated a 15-minute conversation because it turns out that Fortune 10 company was built by consultants. And over again, they had to pull these down because the hacks were coming in from these decks. So just keep in mind, that's your smarts tip of the day. Let's do it. Pinterest. Oh, I love Pinterest. Pinterest is the most aspirational of social networks because it's the one that tells the world who we are. And we tell the world who we are in aspirational ways. Look at all the exercises I'm going to do. Look at all the great food I eat. Look at my amazing vacations. What? My beautiful children, my house. I don't have any kids. I live in an apartment. Like, none of this stuff is me. It's my aspirational self. What happened with Pinterest users is once they started filling out all this aspirational self, they started feeling a little guilty. Like, I'm kind of showcasing my material side, so they started creating the smartboard. And they started pinning articles, an amazing number of, as you can see, of infographics and images. People in Pinterest wanted to showcase their smart, just like they want to showcase and save their workout articles. The problem I have is every single time I talk about Pinterest to a client, any client, they're like, oh, we don't use Pinterest. They don't show up in our analytics. Well, shoot. You know why? Most company websites, if you click on a photo on the website or on the blog, they don't have a URL behind it. What happens? What do you get? There's no URL behind it. You get a bigger photo. Or clicked on a photo or clicked on a Pinterest link, and all you got was a bigger photo. Guess what you lose out? That inbound traffic. This entire network was set up as an affiliate network. If you go back to the history of Pinterest, there's a lot of scandal around this, but it was set up as an affiliate network. It was literally set up to do one thing, drive traffic into your website. But if your photos don't have URLs behind them, you're not getting any of that traffic. So the #1 thing you have to do today is either you do it, your tech team does it, somebody's got to go into your website, start clicking on photos. If you're not getting a landing page, you're just getting a larger photo, add a URL behind it, and look to see if your analytics change. People go on Pinterest all day long. The other thing I hear all the time is, Pinterest is for women. Women are decision makers. Just so everybody's aware, look at this room. It's okay if you're looking at women. Pinterest also has on their ads a 70% click-through rate. So we're not going to do ads. We're all about free here. So let's say we're not going to do ads. Click-through rate's probably about 7%. Maybe it's 0.7%. Still higher than Facebook and Twitter. 0.5%. Still higher. So people ignore this channel all the time because they think it's visual or a place people play. They forget that this is the smart board. This is where visuals, this is where articles, this is where people pin things that they want people to see as smart. Pinterest also has Last Actor, so this is my favorite trick. This is where we have a few, we're a textual newswire service. This is not really our place, but on a day of a big launch, I'll go in, and every 15 minutes I'll like another pin that says Business Wire. Because that pin goes to the front page of Pinterest. And all day long, I'm on the front page of Pinterest. It's called Last Actor. Facebook has it as well. Would you like your CEO, you log into Facebook in the morning and that post from 3 days ago is still the top thing you see? Someone commented on it? Last Actor. You can get back to the front page of Pinterest just by liking or doing anything on that site. Snapchat. I love Snapchat. I'm terrible at it. Snapchat is unvarnished truth. What I like about Snapchat, all my photos are me in my bathroom. I'm so tired of posing for photos on social. I just want to show people who I really am. Pinterest, that's my aspirational self. This is my real self. This is unvarnished truth. No bullshit. This is where you show people what it is. And you also have to remember with Snapchat who the audience is. When Snapchat first came out and people started saying, I gotta use Snapchat for business, I hear this all the time. Serena, how are people using Snapchat for earnings releases? They ain't. Why in the world would you use Snapchat? If 72% of users are 18 to 34, why would I use this channel for earnings? Just because it's popular doesn't mean it has a fit for everybody. But there are great people utilizing this. If this is your target audience, look at Taco Bell. Taco Bell did an entire taco launch on Snapchat and offered all those people a coupon. What happened the day of their launch? People went out and used that coupon. They went back to their social channels and told everybody that they were eating the new taco. Taco Bell hadn't even launched it publicly. So by the time they did the public launch, all this content was already pre-populated on social. You can easily do VIP and backstage access, show demos. One of my favorite users of this, do not judge me, but Kylie Jenner. What does she do when she has a lipstick launch? She Snapchats it, but then she'll actually show the analytics of her website page. She actually shows you and you see the numbers growing. From a marketer perspective, it's really exciting to actually see her launch and see the sales go. I love it. So coupons, takeovers, being relevant, just don't try to shoehorn this if your audience is not in that age range. You'll just end up spending a lot of time for no reward. Oh, but the one thing I do want to say, geofilters. You guys now know that geofilters are open. Anybody can go in, you just go in, you put your logo in, you help position the size where you want it to be, put some money down and save it. My company's annual sales meeting is coming up and I'm literally considering creating my own Snapchat filter to welcome people in. My company won't do it, but I might do it. Just do what if PRSA? We all go to PRSA next year, we're all pitching new business. Why don't we do this? Best agency of the year. Do a little filter. Anyway, I love the geofilter. So even if you're not doing so much on Snapchat, the geofilter. Reddit. Okay, so what I wanted to tell you is that if you click here, you're going to get a massive article on how PR pros and media pros should be utilizing Reddit. Reddit just launched PR tools, brand tools. And they did it with Business Wire 2 weeks ago in a webinar, and we're the first people to know about it. And they haven't repeated the webinar yet. So if you do this now, you're going to be in. Reddit is a highly active community. People are cuckoo, but they're cuckoo about products. If you go in and you're a pasta company and you're launching a brand new spaghetti line, you can go in and you could probably see 500,000, or maybe 50,000 current posts on pasta. You could get to know what the pasta market is. You could get to know what people like about pasta, what they like to eat on pasta, what they hate about pasta. It's literally an entire focus group that all you have to do is go in and listen. There are people like Walgreens who are to this day still making thousands and thousands of dollars from a single link to toenail fungus. That was in a pitch from a blog post from, Reddit subreddit for athletes. Ronda Rousey, people are familiar with her. EA Games put her on the front cover of their game. This has been about a year ago. She lost the match right after that. That photo, that release went on Business Wire. It was upvoted 2,700 times. It resulted in 2.2 million views by people who simply love Ronda Rousey. So imagine finding the people who love your business the absolute most, and then going in and getting to listen to them, suggest ideas with them, and speak with them. That's what Reddit can do for you. But Reddit is not a network where you just spray and pray. You have to go in and listen. Like I said, they created a media brand page. They have opened this up to PR people as well. And what they're going to do is launch a series of tools of how to use Reddit in a more organic and transparent manner. Right now, we're all going in. Does anyone in the room use Reddit? Okay, so none of us, I'm assuming, have our real names. You know what I mean? Like, that's not what Reddit is. Oh, except for Jeremy, who has literally the most transparent person on the web. But what you can do here is you can actually start creating brand pages.
You're amazing, Serena.
Huh?
We have 5 more minutes.
Okay, so we got literally through like 1/10 of this deck. So after that, because all my slides they have this much data. They have all the detail on it. Next slide, real quick. YouTube. Okay, so YouTube is huge. Video is huge. Kinesthetic learning, right? People would prefer to watch versus reading. So one of the things you want to think about in video is obviously creating more video. However, the difficulty in that is that for some of us, the video space is completely saturated. Now, I don't work for Lowe's. I'm not in home improvement. But I know for a fact that the web is filled with videos on how to do things in your house. I know because every day I think to myself, I should search how to fix that. And I don't, but I should. So try this. Next time you think your video space is too crowded, go in, search for the top videos in your space, the most viewed videos in your space on YouTube. Write them down, and write down the length of those videos. And then come up with a way to create that same thing in 6 seconds. I know Vine video is dead, right? They killed off Vine. But Vine was an amazing idea. Imagine taking an entire video on how to lay a tile floor, or if you're in the makeup space, how to do a smoky eye. And then instead of doing it in a 2 or 3 minute video, breaking it down to 6 seconds. Do this, do that, lay a tile floor, do this, this. How much more accessible does that seem? It is so much easier to sell a physical product if you can show the usage of that product in a very, very short amount of time. The other thing to think about is so many people have video created for people who are way down in the funnel, who are so into the sale that that video, they need that video to make their decision, and they have no video for this top line content. So one of the things, McAfee, one of my favorite stories, McAfee and I had a discussion about this, and they had done an asset audit and realized that they had no intro about McAfee content at all in video. So they created a series of videos for that top level, and one of the videos is so successful that every time someone watches it, they know they're going to make a sale. And I love this. And so I'm like, what's that video? Because you know I'm just going to steal the idea, right? So I'm pretending I care, but really it's about me. And I said, what's the video? And the video is how to pronounce the company name. Number one thing on their site, what is the company name? So I laughed. I just burst out laughing. I was like, that's ridiculous. It's awesome. And I said, well, why is that so successful? We're a global company, and in international markets, they think we're pronounced McAfee. And nobody wants to buy a product from a company they can't pronounce the name of. They're embarrassed to talk to our salespeople without knowing how to pronounce the name. So by putting it out on the web how to pronounce the name, they reduced the last barrier to entry, which was that fear of, I'm going to pronounce it wrong. Okay, next slide. Oh yeah, next slide. How was that?
Skip that.
Keep going. I'm going to jump ahead and flip through because I want to show you guys the whole slide. No, you're good. You don't even have to.
Anyway, so
Everyone say goodbye. Thank you very much. Okay. So I'm going to show you guys. Look, okay, so check this out. I work for a wire service, so I'll just say it from here. So we always hear What's the difference between you and your competitors? And we're competitors right here. This is not at all a discussion about our competitor. This has nothing to do with the competitor. This is the exact same release sent out twice. Version A, version 2B. Perfectly fine headline. Rutgers offers next generation supply chain strategy. The problem with that headline is it's boring. It's boring, right? Who cares? Come on, who cares? So what they did here is they took this release and sent it out. Then they took the actual text of the release and they underlined all the key phrases in the release. Keywords, industry terms that were already in their news release. Not stuff they were inserting in. And they took that and they put it inside Google Trends. And whichever terms had the highest search results, they took it and they put it in the headline. Look at the difference. What happened here is, by the way, this entire paragraph is on Internet of Things. So that was not shoehorned in. It was actually part of the program. What they did is they did two things. One is they made their headline of their news release highly searchable, because this is a hot phrase. Internet of Things gets 36,000 searches a day. Hugely searchable. Put it at the beginning. When things are that searchable, what does it mean? Reporters are interested, because consumers are interested. So not only did this get more reporters interested, but it actually got more consumers interested. So by just adding highly searchable keywords into the headline of your release, or your status update, or your blog post, by adding in things people care about on a larger level, they got more coverage, more inbound search, and they sold more seats for the class. So I'm going to show you how that's done real quick, and then we'll stop. And then Josh will yell at us. So bear with me. So basically, you write your news release or your blog post or your social update or your email, identify the keywords. So before you write the headline, just go through what you've already written or your source materials and identify the keywords. Go to Google Trends, change the location and timeline, put in your keywords, whichever ones are the highest search terms, add them to the news release. Sounds really easy. Keep in mind, I swear and then we're done. This is all the stuff you guys didn't hear. Okay, sorry, here we go. Keep in mind, by the way, this is my favorite page. You can also do YouTube, you can do Facebook, and I seem to have accidentally deleted Twitter. But now you can go in and do this exact same process with status updates across all social networks. Remember that Facebook and Twitter, all social networks modify feed. So utilizing the keywords that are popular on those networks is going to help your news get more visible. So it's my favorite thing to do is headline testing or headline crafting. Once I've crafted my headline, just to make sure it doesn't sound like too much inside baseball, I put it in a headline tester. This is American Marketing Institute. CoSchedule has one as well. And that'll tell me if my headline's any good. MIT has a multimedia tester. What if you're creating multimedia, ultimately it's really boring? Find out. It's going to tell you how popular, based on vectors, imagery, and usage, how popular it's going to be. Then my favorite thing, and then I'll stop. Yes. They keep coming in and tell me to show you. So this, I call this the CEO Whisperer. If you haven't tried it yet, it's Tweet Reach. One of my favorite things to do is have somebody come to me and say, somebody wrote a really bad article about us and we're all going to die. My favorite thing to do. Come on. I don't need any more drama because I am drama. So what I do is I take that link. I don't care if it's a tweet link. I don't care if it's a Wall Street Journal link. Just take whatever URL you have, put it in Tweet Reach. It's going to tell you how far on Twitter it traveled. This is great for good news and for bad news, but really great for bad news. Especially a negative tweet, something that's freaking somebody out. When you put it in here, Wall Street Journal story, by the way, anybody want to guess how many tweets that story had actually gotten? The story that caused my heart to jump into my throat? 17. 17 shares. Our response had 19 shares. Our response created a bigger issue than the original post, but we didn't know. until we put it in TweetReach. I love TweetReach. Link Tally will do the same, but sometimes it goes down, so TweetReach. And that's it. I'm here for questions, but I'm going to stop talking at you. I promise you'll get the entire deck. And so, thanks for putting up with this. And any questions, anyone? You can also leave if you want, but yes.
How's BusinessWire approaching Google AMP and Facebook Instant Articles?
Yeah,
It's about
so
search and
interesting. So I'll do instant articles first. What's interesting about instant articles, because there was a lot, we've looked into this really deeply. Instant articles actually doesn't make news appear higher. What it does is if you share a link into, you know who uses instant articles all the time is Washington Post. So if you share a link from the Washington Post into Facebook, what instant articles does is it recognizes that URL matches an article in the system, and it brings up the instant article version, because that version has already been indexed, and it will come up higher, and the multimedia will be a better experience. So for us, what we found was instant articles actually wasn't a competitive situation for us. What it did was it helped people increase their coverage, the visibility of their coverage, because it showcased a faster loading, nicer version of it. So we're a big fan of instant articles, because for us, anything that helps news content get pushed out further, it works really well for us. For AMP pages for mobile, we're already mobile compliant. So for us, it didn't really impact the traffic to our site. However, if you're not mobile compliant now, Google has just, I guess within the last month, came out and said that they're indexing mobile sites first now. So if your website, if your mobile version of your website is really light, and there's a sub-page there that's really on your core page, not your mobile page, if someone searches for this page, it may not come up anymore. Unless it's converted to the mobile format, it will come up. So we've had to make sure that we were mobile compliant. We host online newsrooms as well, so luckily we were way ahead of this, because we knew from those days we'd have to be mobile compliant for earnings. But we really embraced both of them. We actually looked at instant articles for BusinessWire, but the format of our news releases doesn't match the format of their instant articles, so we couldn't use it. Love it. We're all about news amplification. Yahoo also has a place now where you can actually self-submit your news into Yahoo. But the wire service versions appear in more places, and they still appear much higher. What I haven't seen is the Yahoo submissions having really good SEO. If that changes, though, we're going to definitely keep an eye on that. But Yahoo has a new submission page now. Just FYI.
You were talking about doing news announcements, company news announcements on Facebook Live. How do you carry that on for more than 10 minutes? Do you do it like a press conference or like what,
That's a great question. You know what, actually, in those updates, I don't try to hold out for the 10 minutes. Those updates I tend to actually do really quickly, like maybe in 30 seconds to a minute max, because of that reason. Otherwise, it really becomes a full-blown like product demo, which you could do, like you could make it a press conference and do the full 10 minutes. But since I tend to, well, for us, we don't really have a demo. We're all completely online. I just do like 8-minute ones. Then I take that video, save it on my phone, and that becomes my asset for Twitter. And then I'll put it into YouTube as well. 33% of YouTube searches are for news, so make sure anything you put onto Facebook, you use the word, YouTube, you have the word news in your headline, by the way, if it's newsworthy. Yeah.
One more quick question. So I love this idea of like 6-second videos.
Yeah.
Is that really like a hard 6-second number? Is like 10-second videos okay?
Correct, correct. I just happen to really loved the concept that Vine had. And I literally cited a whole slide about it. I just loved the idea that you could take it down into a shorter amount of time. So 6 seconds was the Vine number, but no, you can do it any. By the way, YouTube.com, you take any YouTube link at all, and in that link, where you have youtube.com, before the words YouTube, you type in GIF, it makes a GIF maker. Literally, a GIF maker will come up on your screen. You've heard this before. It's the best. It's the best. You can take any video you've ever created, and create a GIF out of it, and then that's your YouTube, or your Twitter asset. But it's just putting the words GIF right before the word YouTube. It changed everything. Like my first video, I then GIFed it up, and I was like, here's the video. I'm so good. Here's the video, and here's the 5 GIFs, and here are all the still shots from each video. I mean, that thing produced like 40 pieces of content from one video. It's the best. Anyone else? Yay!
So to get back to, I think literally the first thing you said in terms of press releases needing to change from text.
Yes.
So I've been pitched companies that take that like so literally that they'll say, we will hire us and we'll read your text, we'll read your press release on camera.
That's become, by the way, that's become the new hot pick.
Yeah.
And we'll charge you $60 for it. And then I saw one that was like $300, and then there's one, this is where we actually offer that now.
Yeah, so like at what point, like what's the effective, like when does it become dumb?
Yeah, here's the thing, it's a great question.
Immediately.
That's all I did, but
To have someone read your press release,
I'll actually show you something. Let me show you
from a depth.
this. I made this slide in 2006, and literally, this is the future of news. Look at that. That looks like the New York Times, BuzzFeed, and YouTube, right? What those 3 formats do is, no matter how I or you prefer to consume our content, we have 3 choices. You're now giving me the format I want. So in some ways, video is extremely important because for kinesthetic learners like my sister, she will never read your content. Never. If there's not a video for her, she's not going to talk about it. So when it comes to the creation of content, thinking in these three ways helps. But I already forgot your question.
well, so the offer was like, so you can have a video, we'll read your press release on camera.
So what I would do then, so the reason that is really popular is something actually that's happening in the media space. So just so you guys know, 90% of news releases across the wire do not have assets at all. Reporters spend 3 hours on average getting multimedia into a story. AP can't even submit a story without an asset. And what we have and that is the #1 complaint reporters have: no graphics, no assets. So the concept there was twofold. One is that we give you this video content, but secondly, it was to help reporters meet that need of having that content. I don't see much of a rationale for that, especially with Facebook Live, especially with the concept that you can literally create your own of that inside. I know that it started in the small cap space. It actually started with small cap publicly held companies as a way to create content because they were usually 2 or 3 person shops. So it really came from a need it was meant to answer the need of your business is so small that you don't even own a video camera and we got you.
Yeah.
And then secondly, the concept with reporters was the #1 thing that they want is content. What's interesting is that we know video consumption is increasing. This is the third part of it, is that everybody hears the word video content is mobile video. Mobile video. Mobile video is really big because of cord cutting and because of data plans. And because we all now get bored all the time. And in every meeting we're looking at this. So what's happened is you have this really increased use of a need for video, a need for content, and these people are filling that space. But I see no value in that. The value, really, again, is only towards those businesses that don't have that type of capability in-house. If you were going to do a video for your product, the #1 video that right now reporters want is they want a mix of a staged video. They want you to mix that with real time. So they want a video where perhaps you might even, as casually as through Facebook Live, using that, or your phone, be doing an interview with somebody, cut and intersperse between that with real product shots. That's becoming the hot news video type. But we're seeing that exact same thing. The 2 companies that pitched me on that, because I'm on the product team at Business Wire, so I see this, both positioned it as small cap stock stuff. I can't believe you've seen that. Like, honestly, I thought I was the only person who'd seen it. Oh my God. I love you guys. I could legitimately stay in here and do Q&A. I just don't want to keep anybody from lunch. Apparently people eat lunch. There's so much more to talk about.
The example you did of PR Newswire and Business Wire, you took an 8-word headline and you made it 16. Can't you always do that?
So what's interesting is, yes, and in fact, it's funny, I'm so glad you said that. A few things to know about headlines. The first 5 words of newswire headlines, so not editorial coverage, but newswire headlines, are going to be the first 5 words of your news release. So if your first 5 words can include a couple of really hot, very popular industry terms, and then like your company name, then search-wise, it's really useful for you. The reason that particular headline worked so well in its length was the
But
keywords.
you could have written it and they would have done the same thing. I
Yeah,
mean, I don't think it's a perfectly fair example.
well, the difference was the adjectives, right? We're all, right now, succinct headlines are becoming the new hot black.
Whatever.
But the succinct, really short, like the record,
Well,
like
but
the one
you
on
did
the
the
side.
exact opposite.
But the problem is the reason that that succinct headline had no open rates was because it showed no context. Right, so for them, in their particular case, the contextual words that were the biggest was Internet of Things, which is 3 phrases, and mini MBA. So that's why 6 words of it right there were so long. But longer headlines don't detract from reporters, but most of them can only see the first 55 characters, so you have to have your point in that portion. But yeah, you can always write a longer headline. Personally, I like shorter. Here's a great example of a headline. Williams, so true headline, Williams opens Canadian processing plant. Right? This legitimately crosses the wire. The sub-headline is where people say this will lower CO2 sand emissions and it brings jobs to Canada. But the subheads are never seen by anybody. Everybody thinks subheads are seen by reporters. When I'm looking as a reporter to determine if I'm going to open your release or not, here's what I look at. I see your headline, I see whether you have a photo or not, and if you don't have a photo, I'm not going to open it, so you might as well, unless that headline's amazing. If you don't have an asset, because otherwise you just made me do 3 more hours worth of work. Why would I do that for you? I don't even know you. And so what they see is this small amount. Same thing online. Online, what they see, like if you Google your own news release, you see your headline and your first sentence. That's all the space you have. So we have these clients who write these first sentences that are like analog devices, NASDAQ, ADI, power leader, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
How boring is that?
Well, you're just gaming the boilerplate. But that's a very traditional publicly held company first sentence. So what we've done is we are looking at the systems that are showcasing. We realize that subheads were never seen. And if a subhead has the why, that's the problem with these succinct headlines. So usually you rely on a subhead to give the story. Nobody sees a subhead. So you have to win them with that headline before they even see the subhead. Down with subheads, up with headlines.
But by the way, you're so right about the asset thing. Like, especially if you're cranking out stuff, you just need another reason not to go to search for a photo. So that's great. The other quick question, just about, I like this idea of like different ways of telling the same story.
Yeah.
So say you're doing like a long piece of like content marketing that isn't necessarily news. It's like an explainer or some kind of feature. Very editorial style. Would you recommend also doing like a video version of that for the hyperkinetic?
I would, if you have the skill set, because I don't have the skill set. If I had the skill set that every time I launch content, I could do a photo essay, I could do a text essay in that, and a video, I would absolutely do it. And I would create on a landing page those 3 abilities. Give the reader, because my sister, like I said, she will all day long watch that video. If you make me watch a video, I think you're trying to, videos remind me of my mom, who always told me what to do, and I'm a rebellious kid, so when somebody tries to tell me what to do, I'm not going to do it. That's how literally what I feel every time I get a video. You can't tell me what to do, I'm not going to watch this video. And then I have to work my way down to it. So yeah, I would legitimately, as often as possible, create. Then what you can do is you can track the views versus readers, and you can start to see which one is more impactful. The trick with that is that people can read an article, readers can read an article in 20 seconds. So the video cannot be 2 minutes long. It's gotta be succinct as well. And what I do when I promote video is I always promote the length. In 45 seconds, learn everything you need to know about ads. I try to showcase the short, because I'm a tall person.
Well, I don't have a question.
Yeah!
But I do have a comment. I just want to say your high energy and just the value of information is amazing, and you're fantastic, so thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah.